Hello and welcome back to another video. There is no, I guess, like rhyme or reason. We are trying a new setup, but inside the house the clip came early. I don't know what's in the sketchbook, so I have to be careful. Um, Alright, so this is something from earlier. Someone gave the idea on like composition, but I'm sure I didn't do it right. So I started a little bit like, you draw like a box, and then obviously you organize the shapes at the top here in the box. But obviously you can see each one of these are just like um really boring. But we'll try to do one live. Um, yeah. So I noticed that like obviously this clip is like long and it shakes a lot, and that's a little worrying, but hopefully it doesn't interact with the video too much. It's hard to know, but we will see. And the upcoming, I guess, like the watch back, the playback, these like shapes were drawn on the page, but they're like, you know a little bit, I don't know how to describe it. Like they're not following like the correct perspective, and maybe I could like lay down like a fake kind of perspective, and then, or like not a fake perspective, but like a really like rough like nondescript one, so that way I could like follow like the lines at least, and that would cause, for some reason I really like to draw like the objects off the screen, and I don't know what that's about. It's like very like unique uh thing to do. But I'm also like, we're using a big round stick. Obviously, this is not a camera that focuses. Big round stick, medium ballpoint pen, something you probably have laying around the house. And we're gonna color. We got a big bag, big bag of supplies, bro. Like, there's stuff in here, but we're gonna be using the crayons as soon as I get my little hands on them. And I'm just gonna like lay down, I guess, like lighting for each of these. So I want to start with this one. I'm just gonna draw like an arrow which way I want the light to go, and the light will go from above this one. This one the light will come from underneath, and then this one the light will come in from the side, and then this one the light will also come from the side. And for variety, this one the light will come in from the bottom left, or yeah, the bottom left, and this one the light will come in from the bottom right. And I will try to get this as accurate as possible. So if the light is on the top, this part would be, this is the light, the yellow crayon is the light. And obviously they would like want you to do this with like a grayscale, so you wouldn't be doing this with like color. You'd be doing it with like a tone. And yeah, so I'm wondering, maybe I should have got like the shorter one. I thought I was getting the longer one so that I could like see the page better, but uh it's hard to know now. But we're just gonna do the lighting for each of these. So this one, the light is right here, right? And for the cylinder, like the light like kind of like bands around it. It's not just like regular regular old light. It like bands around it. And this part would have light, but the other part won't have light. And another cool thing too is like, you want to draw um the shape sometimes. Like, drawing the shape will save you some time sometimes, but other times it could be hard to get that. Like if you don't know, it could be hard because your instinct is like, when you're like, maybe other people's instinct might be different, but like when you're like coloring, to just color it in, not to like objectively look at what you're doing and do something that is like thought out, and that's kind of like one of the places where even I have a lot of like difficulty still, especially like doing traditional art very often. Not traditional art, digital art very often. You become like not dependent, but you become more free and like in digital art because you don't need to worry about making mistakes because you could just fix it, right? Like I can just duplicate the layer and fix it, or I could just lower the opacity and fix it. And a lot of times that is you know, a interesting method of survival in the artistic landscape, but it becomes primarily detrimental as an artist sometimes because it makes it so that like yeah you might like arrive at like a cool piece of art or something, but you will not uh get the most out of it from like learning if you are going through that type of process sometimes. Like sometimes that process is a bit more like destructive than helpful because a lot of times like I don't know how to do like for instance, I was watching a video the other day of somebody like do like a blur on like traditional art, like a traditional art blur, like a blur effect, and it was like they use like masking tape and like a brush, like a light brush, and they were like, and like obviously like stuff like that is very like unique, and um I made a mistake here, but obviously stuff like that is unique and very like case specific, but it's unique in the way that is like you would never probably do that because if you're in digital you just go to like the blur tool and just blur it, or like you might have like your program might have like a blur brush. I think this part shouldn't have been that way. I think this part should have also been light but like not as dark, so that was a mistake. um and things like that. Like I don't know how to do like a color burn on like traditional art. I don't know how you would even do that, but it would be something nice to learn how to do. And a lot of times it would probably just be like, I guess using whatever that hue is or color a bit more boldly, or like more more saturated, or more or less light or something. I don't really know what it would be, but one of those is the result of the actual like process of doing that. But and digital, you don't need to think about doing that. There are a lot of techniques that are kind of like streamlined and sped up, and it's good. I love digital art. I will always love digital art because you have infinite paint, you have infinite paper. As long as you have the space, you have a lot of different things, and it's good that you do have that like medium for an outlet because it makes it so that you have access to essentially like some of the most unique and effortless effortless kind of like art in a way, because it makes it so that your art is like you don't have to really stress too much about, oh, it's bad, because you could always like fix it. Like in traditional, one of the things, like yeah, you can always fix it, but you also can't always fix it. Like if you spend 40 hours on a painting and then you make a mistake, you might have to just start over. You might just have to, you know, say, okay, well, back to the drawing board or something. And that is a specific thing to like traditional, but there are ways to correct it. Like I've done a drawing and corrected it by like cutting out another face out of another piece of paper and then gluing it onto that paper. Like I've done that, and I think that that is a valid mechanism to overcome the hurdle of like whatever. But also like I think traditional locks you into making more definitive decisions, whereas in digital, like I become super precious in digital art, where I will like duplicate a layer like 20 times before I make a change to it, so that way I'm like, all right, I might like this layer later, so I can't delete it, and it's like you shouldn't do that, but you can, you can do whatever you want, but it definitely it changes the way that I like process doing certain things in art and whatnot, and it makes things a little bit more um, not as not as I want it to be. Like right here, I'm like kind of doubting what I did, so that's part of the thing. But um, the light is coming in from this way, so like the ball should get a little bit of light, I think, and yeah, but hopefully this recording isn't too shaky or whatever, because this thing is like really shaking, and the little table is shaky, the little camera stand thing is shaky. It's all just shaking. It's shaking, man. And oh wait, I forgot to add the shadow to the other side. Like there's no ground shadow, so everything is like kind of like floating. So like the shadow would be back here. Like there would be a shadow just going off that way. Kinda. And this is from imagination. This is at the directive of um somebody that I was watching today was talking about composition, and they were like organize the shapes. I didn't ask if the shapes should be 3D or not though, which is probably like my fault. My biggest blunder was not asking that question, but it's it's interesting, and obviously like there was no like conversation about coloring or should you color it or what. I'm just doing it for the sake of this. But thank you for watching. This is this is what we got. I can't really unscrew it from the stand. It's like a clip, but yeah, you just draw a bunch of shapes in like different positions, uh, and maybe hold it up closer. Look at that inside of our on the Pokemon Gyarados playmat with the Super Mario binder, like really lawsuit up. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you will like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you again in the future. This was a test. Bye.